targeted to learning objectives. And the difficulty is that we all come from the tech side, but I have this conversation with administrators. My superintendent, Dr. Kalinich, is fantastic work, but they have different perspectives because of the purchasing side. So is there a way to target devices? I think there is, but there's also that management piece, and there's a lot more to the discussion, isn't there, in schools? But I had an anticipation that we were going to talk. We want to target technology to the learning objectives. So do you have examples? This is where I want to get back to. This is our next question. I want to go back to Karen because I kind of cut you off earlier with some of the examples in your literacy piece. Let's go ahead and switch it over to her machine. I know that you got that last slide up there.
Yeah,
you wanted a sense of.
It's an interesting way to do a conversation, isn't it? Because I was like going on that reading, and then I'm like, oh, back, and then I feel a little ADD right now.
All right.
Like, okay, back to the reading fluency piece. You know, the iPod examples. Again, I'm trying to encourage our teachers to look at that create option and to keep saying to them, what are the things that aren't working in your classroom that you think 5 iPods are going to do? We have no iPads in the district yet, but I know my experience on what's going on with the iPods is going to drive that kind of feature. And so I want them to keep talking about what's not working. You know, one of the real simple examples to my classroom teacher of what's not working, I think you can relate to. Some of the students in Springfield are absent some days. So that my art teacher said, Karen, if I have to explain how to do a clay pot one more time to the 5 kids who weren't here yesterday because now I've got to get all this out, I think I'm going to lose my mind, right? Don't you have a better answer for me? And it was that moment, you know, that pleading, because that's what we want teachers to do with us, isn't it? Plead with me. Tell me what's not working in your room. And then I think I've got some answers for you. And so just real simple, because the other thing teachers need is it's got to be simple. Don't come back to me, Karen, with something that's going to take 2 weeks, because I've got a few minutes. And yeah, there's audio on that, but you don't even know how to do a clay pot. Work with me on this. So that I can set up a camera in front of her while she's presenting to middle school kids. Really? You're doing the audio while she's presenting to middle school kids? Yeah, well, we learned real quickly that teachers, as teachers, we do really well in front of audiences. Do you know that? You don't talk too well in front of a wall in a room by yourself. And so she presented that, and then we just cut the audio out of that classroom, and she just redid the audio the next day to kind of give exactly what she wanted without being interrupted by students. And so now you're saying, well, what would she do with that? She's got a whole set of everything she needs for her art that she, of course, she still does it live in the classroom each year. I'm not replacing teachers here. But now the kid who needs to see it again gets to see it again, and now that's what I meant about complementing. They started that with the MacBook, and now I can just move that to the iPod, and that's one more device that's back there for the student who needs to see again. And I gave you an art teacher example, but you already see the other examples. You get it. We all do things that we wish kids would see again. Have you ever set up a stream table for science teachers? Okay, and if you have, good, thank you. Really, because you want to do that physically, you do not want kids to watch somebody else's stream table. However, if you videotape it, then when they go back to talk about the discussion and get the vocabulary, you've got them seeing the example again. And that's what I want happening, because flip cameras are so easy these days, right? I have one in my purse, don't you? I mean, it's like, of course teachers have that device now. Or we all know that they turn their laptops around and that's got a camera on it, right? They do, because you could follow up with when teachers find out that there are cameras and things. They're like, there's cameras, there's people are recording. And kids know that. So they begin to take that ownership and that power, and that's where I think these devices are going. And so it's